Dear colleagues, as we have only 1 hour, I think we start already, and then I'm sure there are still some people coming in. But I see that we have already more than 60 people online, so that is good. Quite a lot of people are joining online. So good morning, dear colleagues and friends, and welcome to the session of the Animal Welfare Intergroup. Warm welcome also, as I said already, to those who joined us online. Your engagement is really appreciated. Today we gather to discuss the welfare of animals during transport, an issue that remains at the critical juncture. The 2023 proposal on animal transport sparked intense debate with thousands of amendments tabled in Agri and Tran committees. This reflects both the complexity of the file and the difficulty of turning scientific evidence and ethical considerations into clear and enforceable rules. We know that scientific evidence is unequivocal. The EFSA opinion on the welfare of animals during transport that was published in 2022 shows that the current framework falls short of adequately safeguarding animal welfare. At the same time, they provide clear guidance on how existing rules can be improved. Our task today is to explore how the proposed revision can translate this evidence into practical and effective policy. This session offers a valuable opportunity for constructive discussion, that's what I hope. While the legislative and political process is complex, also with 2 co-rapporteurs, the ethical and scientific imperative is very clear. Animal welfare must remain the priority, and practical and economic considerations should be addressed in ways that support this objective, because that is what the regulation is about, rather than undermine it. To ground our discussion, we will first hear from DVM Susanna Blattner, Farm Animals Programme Officer at Eurogroup for Animals, and she will present NGO perspective and the results of a recent opinion poll on EU citizens' views on animal transport. And this will be then followed by screening of a short film on the welfare of unweaned animals during transport, introduced by Chiara Caprio from Essere Animali, offering an illustrative perspective on the realities on the ground. Before we start, as usual, some technical and practical details. So we have both in-person and remote participation are available. Live streaming is via Interaxio, and the link will be provided. The meeting is recorded, and materials will be available on the Intergroup website. And then good morning also to the interpreters. We have interpretation is available in English, in French, in German, in Italian, in Spanish, and Romanian. Voilà. We start. So with the first point is the NGO perspective, to welcome Susanna Blattner from the Eurogroup for Animals, who will present civil society perspective on animal transport and share the findings of a recent EU-wide opinion poll reflecting citizens' concerns and expectations. Dear Susanna, the floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Susanna Blattner. I am a veterinarian, and I work as the program officer for slaughter and transport at the Eurogroup for Animals. Today, I am going to present to you some of the key results of a recent opinion poll on live transport conducted by the Research and Data Institute Savanta. I know that the opinion of European citizens is highly relevant to you and your political work. So I hope that the data that I'm about to share with you will help you shape your opinion and also your actions on this very controversial file. I will briefly start explaining the methodology behind the transport poll. Then I will explain to you the key findings. Of course, they are not comprehensive. I strongly invite you to go to Savanta's website after the session to see the full data set. And finally, I will reiterate once again our priorities as the Eurogroup for Animals for the revision of the live transport regulation. I would also like to highlight the fact that this topic is very close to me, not only at a professional level, but also at a personal level. In actual fact, before moving into policy work, I have worked directly in the sector. I was an official veterinarian. And during that time, I realized that even if most of the time there is the willingness by the operators working in the sector to improve the welfare of the animals during transport, many times it is simply not possible because the rules don't allow it. That's why I decided to move into policy work, because the current transport regulation is outdated. It has been written more than 20 years ago. And that's why I wanted to help the animals in another way, supporting the change of the rules themselves. I am sure that at the end of this presentation, it will be evident to you that the opinion of European citizens is clearer and also stronger than is often assumed. Regarding the methodology, the Research Institute Savanta has interviewed more than 8,000 people across 9 different member states. The member states are Belgium, Cyprus, France, Ireland, Italy, Poland, Portugal, Romania, and Spain. The samples have been weighted to be representative of different gender, region, and ages. It means that the results that I'm about to share with you are not coming only from the people that are already involved in animal welfare issues, but they are coming from the general public. So let me start with the first key result. As you can see here, across all 9 member states, more than 4 out of 5 of the respondents have expressed a serious or moderate concern about the welfare of the animals during transport. It means that there is a very high level of awareness for a topic that is often considered very technical. But it also means that the welfare of the animals during transport is not a marginal issue for European citizens, but is actually something they care about and they expect policymakers to address. And when we go to, next slide, please. Okay. And when we go to some specific aspects of live transport, the message becomes even clearer. In actual fact, 1/3 of the respondents say that they don't think animals should be transported for long distances. Another third say that animals should be transported for a maximum of 4 hours. It means that almost 2/3 of the respondents say that animals should not be transported at all for long distances, or that the journey times should be strongly reduced up to 4 hours. It means that European citizens are aware of the issue of the long journeys and don't consider it as an acceptable practice, but as an actual risk. And next slide, please. Thank you. And when we talk about specific risks, here we have other very relevant data, because almost 90% of the respondents agree that transporting animals during extreme hot or cold temperatures put them at a risk. And more than 80% believe that vulnerable animals, such as pregnant animals or very young and unweaned animals, should have specific protections during transport. It means that European citizens are aware of different risks of live transport, of the complexity of this topic, and are expecting to address this complexity. And the last data that I would like to share with you is about also the political dimension of all this data, because here you can see that more than 50% of the respondents say that their opinion on a political party would worsen if this political party did not support the rules to improve the welfare of the animals during transport. This is a crucial data, and it also demonstrates that if a political party doesn't address this issue and ignores the opinion of European citizens, this political party goes into a proper political risk. So what does it mean for the revision of the transport regulation? Of course, this poll doesn't provide the solutions, but it provides a very clear idea of what the European citizens are expecting. And these expectations are also very aligned with science and also with our key priorities. So I would like to repeat once again our priorities for the revision of the live transport regulation. So we are first asking for a maximum journey time of 8 hours that take into consideration the species and the category specificity of the animals. We are asking for stronger support and protection for vulnerable animals that include unweaned animals, end-of-production animals, and also pregnant animals, for mandatory temperature thresholds and effective internal control systems. For science-based space allowance, I would like to reiterate once again, we have the EFSA opinion that provides a very clear allometric curve and space allowances for the different species. And finally, we are asking to phase out the export of live animals. We know that it can be considered an extreme measure because it could kill a sector, but we are already providing a solution that is a shift towards the transport of meat, carcasses, and genetic material. I would like to finish with a few takeaways. First of all, European citizens are aware of these topics. They are aware of what is happening, and they are aware of what needs to be changed. And second, they are not asking for extreme measures. They are just asking for common sense rules that take into consideration the science. You have now a big opportunity to improve the welfare of the animals and to align the new transport regulation with science, common sense, and general public opinion. So I really hope you will take it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Susanna, for these valuable insights and this also impressing polls, and also for the clearly setting out both public expectation and also welfare priorities. We now turn to a short film introduced by Chiara Caprio from Essere Animali, which illustrates the specific challenges faced by unweaned animals during transport. Chiara, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Essere Animali is an Italian organization working on specifically farmed animals, and we've been monitoring for years the situation of live animal transport in our country, but also in other countries, and especially coming from Eastern Europe or Spain to Italy. The video you're about to see focuses on the transport of lambs, in particular, and vulnerable animals, which is an important topic regarding animal welfare. And you will see that we are doing this monitoring together with veterinarians. We are informing the Ministry of Health, of course, of the situation, and we are trying to keep track of all the problems that we see on the field. Live animal transport is, of course, a complex topic, but I want to reiterate what Susanna just said. European citizens are well aware of the situation. Animal welfare organizations are working in many countries with the corporate sector to improve this process and also live animal transport. We are working with institutions with very clear asks about what can be done to reduce these sufferings that I think Europe should take into account. European Union has an historical opportunity to show that animal welfare laws can be improved and can be an example for other countries as well. We really believe that Europe is the place for rights and for animal rights and animal welfare too. We are here to help for a constructive discussion and conversation, and we are open to all the feedbacks and questions that MEPs and the European institutions have about this topic, and to show you what we find on the field. This is just the first 8 minutes take on what happens on our routes, and thank you very much again for the opportunity.
Put a little bit the lights down, maybe, also? No? Thank you.
Nino è stato salvato durante un'attività di monitoraggio che facciamo per documentare le condizioni degli animali trasportati dall'est Europa. Nino viaggiava su un camion che proveniva dalla Romania. Questo camion aveva il sistema di abbeveraggio rotto, per cui gli animali fin dalla Romania non potevano bere. Per cui l'abbiamo fatti fermare dalla polizia e Nino era praticamente disidratato, era steso a terra e calpestato da tutti gli altri agnelli. Per cui dopo l'intervento anche dei veterinari c'è stato dato, anche grazie alla veterinaria che è intervenuta sul posto per il controllo, durante queste attività di monitoraggio nel corso degli anni abbiamo trovato anche casi eclatanti dove gli agnelli non sono stati fortunati come Nino. Una volta è dovuta intervenire una veterinaria e sono stati soppressi 3 agnelli che erano in condizioni veramente limite e per evitare ulteriore sofferenza sono stati abbattuti.
The protection of animals during transport is regulated by the regulation 1/2005, which was adopted in the 2005 and came fully in force in 2007. So it's a very, very old regulation, we can say. And also when it was written, it was replacing the even older directive on the protection of animals during transport. And it has a lot of gaps. If we are talking about the road transport, we are talking about a vehicle which departs in one member state and can cross 3, 4, 5, 6 different member states until its destination. During this journey, nobody is really looking at it.
Il regolamento che disciplina la gestione degli animali vulnerabili, che stiamo parlando di animali gravidi, animali non spezzati e animali a fine carriera, quindi quegli animali che l'industria ha sfruttato fino alla fine e deve portare al macello. Ecco, il regolamento è lo stesso che norma tutte le altre tipologie di trasporto di animali ed è sicuramente stato fatto prima con le conoscenze scientifiche che c'erano a quei tempi. Questo regolamento è datato, anacronistico e non tiene in considerazione realmente i bisogni etiologici degli animali.
I've worked for Compassion for 35 years, and throughout that time, animal transport has been, a really major issue for our supporters. The UK, of course, used to have a huge trade. In the mid-90s, we were exporting 2 million sheep a year, 500,000 calves, and through 50 years of lobbying, we finally got to the point where the UK actually banned live exports for slaughter and fattening. Sadly, of course, the EU still has a huge trade between the member states and also to third countries, particularly the Middle East and North Africa.
I believe that at the moment, the current regulation really needs to change. And for the reason we have the proposal of a new regulation on animal transport that came out from the European Commission in 2023. The reasons is that at the moment, vulnerable animals such as pregnant animals or injured animals and unweaned animals are not fully protected by the current regulation. They can be transported for a very long time. They are not protected during extreme temperatures, and they are also allowed to be transported also even during conditions that are not good for their health and welfare.
The new regulation was also, let's say, ordered by the European Parliament because the European Parliament had started a so-called ANIT committee. This is an inquiry committee to see how the current legislation on protection of animals during transport is being implemented and if it is possible to work on it. And one of the conclusions of the Senate committee is that Europe needs a new transport regulation.
Now we had the ANIT investigation process in the European Parliament. My opinion is that they have produced quite good results, but it's derogated by the different member states who want to leave the situation like it is nowadays. No?
There are videos, there are photos, there are dossiers. Parliamentarians have come with us to the field to see the reality. Unfortunately, just the parliamentarians who are for improving the animal welfare, the parliamentarians which are not willing to improve animal welfare, they don't want to go even on the road to see the reality. So all this is out, and still there is pretending that everything is okay, and that the only problem is that the regulation is not implemented. The regulation cannot be implemented as it is written because it has too many gaps and because different competent authorities, different member states have the possibility to interpret the current regulation in too many different ways. If we are talking about the vulnerable animals, so this is the animals which are all very young or at the end of so-called, this is how we call it, their exploitation area. So this is the animals which have been producing for human consumption all their lives. It means that their body is physiologically very weak, and these animals should be specially protected in the regulation.
Experience suggests one just has to keep on lobbying and campaigning and trusting that eventually things do change. You know, I remember campaigning and lobbying on live exports in the UK in the 90s. It seemed we stood there on street corners chanting ban live exports. It was hard to believe it was ever really going to happen with 2.5 million animals a year being exported, but it has happened. One just has to keep working and trusting. One specific though, I think, is that we need as a movement to look at Article 13 of the treaty, that this requirement to pay full regard to the welfare requirements of animals, and think about what legal or other actions we can take to make, to force the Commission and the Member States to make a reality of this.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chiara, for sharing this important perspective. Also good to see people back that we saw during the ANIT Inquiry Committee. It provides really clear illustration of the challenges faced also by unweaned animals, specifically during transport. So we have now really time also for debate and for discussion and for looking into the future. And first, I would like to give the floor to the co-rapporteur of the file on animal transport in Agri, to Daniel Buda, maybe to make a short presentation how he sees right now the situation. Daniel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was hoping to be able to take the floor at the end after my colleagues' interventions to be able to put some information together. We worked together on this file at the ANIT committee. Several colleagues have been involved on this file. We made visits on the ground, and we tried to put forward a proposal regarding a qualitative boost in animal welfare during transport Just as we could see in this video, and it's been mentioned as well, the main problem right now concerns the implementation of the existing regulations, because that Romanian truck did not observe the law. We've seen other trucks in other countries, I don't want to name names, but unfortunately the controls are not rigorous enough. They do not know the legislation about live transport. In the summer, we had 2 trucks of piglets imported from Denmark or the Netherlands. They were stopped in Hungary because the company hadn't paid the road tolls, and the Hungarian authorities kept them in a parking lot for 20 hours and wouldn't let them go until the ministers had to intervene in order to unblock the situations. It wasn't the animals' fault that the road toll hadn't been paid. So we have this problem regarding legislation now. Last year I was at EFSA with a delegation from the Agri Committee, and I asked questions about regarding the proposal that's been put forward on this file regarding space allowances, regarding the environmental impact and so on. I will not go into details because we all know what we're talking about. So I asked them if there had been a correlation between well-being and economic aspects, and they said no. The European Commission did not ask for such an assessment, such a correlation with economic aspects, only with welfare.
They listened to different stakeholders, also what we did during the ANIT committee. It was not only listening to animal welfare advocates, it was listening to transport companies, it was listening to the people responsible on ports, it was listening also to the police, so to very different companies, of course to the farmers, to the trailers. We listened to very different people, and so did the Commission. EFSA came then with studies. The colleagues, based on the draft report, came then along with more than 3,000 amendments, so that is also, of course, to consider. And clearly, as a co-rapporteur, I think our role is really to find a compromise, to come together in the logic of co-rapporteurship, to come to a political decision on essential points, without losing what we really have been voted for and also what we believe in, and based on science, based on listening to the citizens, etc. Yes, and I agree on that also. It is a unique opportunity that we could have now with a new regulation, which has to be better, clearer, also to allow, speaking about economics, a better level playing field. But indeed, this regulation, the main priority is, of course, animal protection. That is the name of the regulation. It is protection of the animals during transport, without neglecting, of course, the position and the needs of the farmers, etc. I think that is also considered. So where we stand now, and I think I can say that, I'll be very honest, I discussed it yesterday with Daniel Buddha, and we agreed that we don't agree. I mean, that is where we stand now. I mean, in our position, I mean, I'm very ready to compromise a lot. Just to give you an example, what we want as in my political group and as animal defender is 8 hours of transport. I know that that is not going to be possible. But when I go there until 21, you see just a way of a huge compromise I'm ready to make if it brings progress to the current regulation. But if on the other hand, somebody stays with 29 hours repeatable, you see the gap where we are. I mean, and compromise is important. It's key. It's looking at the amendments. It's looking at science. It's looking at the needs on the ground. But that's where we stand now. I just showed one example where we stand. It's not that we, how can I say, shout at each other. Don't think that we don't respect each other, Daniel Buddha and myself. But we can only agree on the fact that we don't agree. That's where we stand now, and I'm very honest with you. Voilà. I mean, I cannot sell my soul on that, and you know that. Voilà. Now I give the floor to the other people in the room. I have a lot of people that asked to have the floor, and the first one that I noted down was Thomas Weitz.
Okay, then I will start this conversation and open this conversation from our side. I have a few questions to you very directly, colleague Buddha. I mean, we have joined 1.5 years in the inquiry committee called ANIT committee. We have listened to veterinarians and science that have clearly brought us clear proof that the transport of calves with 10 days or 2 weeks is unacceptable from the side of animal welfare, but also from the side of the potential spread of animal illnesses and disease. A minimum age of 4 weeks, or actually 5 weeks, was not just recommended, but was set as a clear minimum. And you're still not ready to support that. We learned that feeding calves in a 1 hour break on a parking lot is technically simply impossible for the driver. So none of these drivers can actually legally transport the calves with a break in between. So they're all illegal on the way. We need to find a solution here. I don't know why you're rejecting this. We need clear rules, and we heard it from police. Police told us, look, we need clear rules when it comes comes to headspace, when it comes to density, when it comes to temperature, which temperature, when does it need to be measured. We need clear rules, otherwise they cannot do their job. You said, yes, we need more controls. Indeed, I share your opinion. We need more controls, but the police on the ground need to have clear rules on what to actually examine and what to punish. We heard, customs authorities from Ireland as an example. They were very clear that ships that are found in harbors of Romania would not even be allowed into an Irish harbor. And this is all European Union. Do you really want to keep Romania as a second-class, low-standard, downside of European Union's internal trade? I don't think this is a good idea. You voted for the report, and the report was a compromise between all of us. It was a compromise, and we worked hard for this compromise. You voted for this report. How much does your vote count? And now you're blocking since months and months and months and months negotiations. You're blocking any progress. You want to go even lower than the old regulation. I don't know, who are you doing this for? For farmers, you're not doing it for, because contrary to you, I am a farmer. It's not the farmers you're defending. You might be defending the interests of big meat business and the big transporters. That might also be legitimate because they have a legitimate interest, but you're not defending farmers' interests. So I really want to know, when are we going to work on this? And I want to know from you, does your vote on the ANID report count anything, or does it count nothing?
I know it's very passionate.
Tilly, I need
yeah.
But
of course you can.
No.
Daniel, are you going to stay? I hope you stay until 10 o'clock. I just give quickly the floor. I have quite a long, and of course you can react. But let me just, dear colleagues, try, keep your interventions short. It's that Daniel Buddha indeed can also react, and also maybe myself. Maria, you have the floor.
Ganz herzlichen Dank, und vielleicht kann ich auch ein bisschen.
Thank you very much indeed. I'll try and calm things down. One thing is really important to me. I'm not going to go into the content because that actually should be discussed in the meeting of shadow rapporteurs, which means we need one. I'm really worked up that as SED, apparently the Greens and EPP can't agree on a date. And that means then that the other groups are simply left out. So I really want to be able to do my work as shadow. Maybe on some of the things I sit on the content between the Greens and the EPP. So maybe it's up to people like me to build the bridges. But what's not okay is simply not to have a meeting. I really think that next week, even next week, we need a meeting, because it's not here in the animal welfare group that we're going to be able to discuss the content. We've got a political level, i.e. the shadows meeting, but I would really like to receive an invitation for next week, and it's there we can discuss things. I was also in the inquiry committee, and we need to bring in the S&D whatever, and then the left, ECR, whatever. We have to bring them in as well. But it's not possible that two groups think that they can decide on things in advance, cutting corners. That's not okay. The political meetings are the shadow meetings. And Tilly, Mr. Budi, please, let's get an invitation sent out next week, because otherwise, quite honestly, I'm going to have to turn to Metzola, von der Leyen, I don't know who, but somebody. I've been here in the Parliament for 11 years, and I've never seen this type of thing beforehand, that groups are left outside because there's no invitation. So the content needs to be discussed in the Shadows meeting, and I want an invitation next week. Otherwise, I'm going to have to tell my party leadership about that, and we have to do something, because honestly, it can't be up to the two rapporteurs to hold everything up and exclude other groups as well. Thank you.
Tilly, now I need intervention, please.
Dear colleagues, here on my phone, I have the emails sent to you. Because, Maria, I agree with you perfectly. The two of us cannot decide for you. I asked a meeting with the shadow rapporteurs. And this meeting didn't take place for various reasons, and I agree that me and Tilly cannot decide for everyone. We need to understand that regardless of our opinion, one way or another, you have a right to vote, and you have the right to discuss this issue. At the end of the day, that's why I said that although Tilly and I are not on the same page, we can vote amendments one by one because there's no other procedure. This is what democracy means, to give you the opportunity. Everyone has the opportunity to express themselves through the vote on the amendment.
Misse gibt oder nicht.
Please.
Just a moment. I sent one email with your office. I have an answer with you about the shadow meeting. Next week, I totally shadow meeting. Now I put in the, I don't know, every day, it's Saturday. For me, it's not pentru mine nu este important când am această...
It's not important when we organize this meeting, but we have to have this meeting. And yes, my colleague said a lot of things, some of them untrue. We're not a second-tier country because there have been a lot of controls. And please be careful what you say when you talk about my country, because I don't want to have an unsuitable reaction here. So next week, well, those people work hard. You should be ashamed of yourself for saying something about such an important country in terms of animals for everyone else. So, Madam Chair, Madam Chair, let's set up this meeting with the shadow rapporteurs to discuss this file. Let's set up the meeting with the shadow rapporteurs.
Okay, we have 12 minutes left, and I'm really keen on hearing also my colleagues. And the next on the list after Maria is Sebastian Evering, please.
Wow. Also erstmal vielen Dank an Maria und Thomas.
First and foremost, thank you to Maria and Thomas for what they've said. It shows how important this intergroup is and how important it is to have exchange at this level. We've seen very clearly how important this issue is to people out there in Europe. So let me start by saying that our colleague Buda is correct in the sense, but, well, we saw a Romanian truck, but obviously it's clearly not just a Romanian problem. It's a Europe-wide, basically structural problem. And I just have one single specific question I'd like to ask. An awful lot was said about saying that we want a high level of animal welfare standards, and we heard an awful lot about agriculture, etc. But very specifically, I want to ask, how are we supposed to achieve that very high standard of animal welfare, bearing in mind the lengthy transport involved? What would be your specific proposals?
And as next on my list.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having this meeting. And I'm right now feeling that this meeting is a shadow meeting, and we have been waiting for a shadow meeting for I don't know how many months. I've been part of this parliament for 7 years, been in a lot of negotiations, and I had never been in negotiations where we only voted. We only vote in the committee and in plenary. In the shadow meetings, we are discussing each topic, and I'm still waiting for a meeting where we can discuss each topic. We have problems with welfare on animal transport in Europe. That's a fact. We have problems with it. And everybody is waiting for us to find solutions. I can hear we can agree on control, but you can only have control if you have clear rules. So please let us start.
Thank you very much for your clear call. Then I have Valérie Deloche.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you for this exchange. It's true that sooner or later we had to talk about it. And obviously it's a technical issue with very specific rules based on professional proven skills. This can't only be addressed from a standardization or legislative point. The transporters, everyone, well, apart from you, who's a former veterinarian, we don't have the veterinarians either. We don't really ask for their input. So maybe we should ask them to take part as well in our exchanges. Well, I do particularly agree on one point, and that is that the file as it stands today, well, it's not applicable in the field, either technically, financially, or in terms of real safety for animals. Certain of the demands don't take account of the logistics, the existing conditions, or the questions of road safety. Now, obviously, we do feel that we have to improve the current framework to build on 2005 on training of drivers, and particularly in terms of the implementation of checks, because it's on that front in particular that we have consensus. Better trained, better checked, better targeted. The shortcomings as well. We have to tighten everything up to make it as effective as possible. But it's the people who are working in the field. We've got a lot of ideologists involved behind this. A lot of people are doing this from the heart. Simply saying that these things are not acceptable, but they're not really aware of what happens in the field. I agree that what we've seen, the video this morning, is totally unacceptable. It's certainly not the majority, though. We have to get that in our heads as well. And I think the best way when you see this type of thing is to simply remove the permits from the transporters who are behind this type of thing, to take away their permits, impose really fines that really bite, financial ones, maybe take criminal steps as well. It's on that front that we have to work, because there are thousands of transport trips going on every single day, but it's just a minority, certainly. As Mr. Buda was saying, we have to look at the transport, shorten the trips when it's animals going to slaughter, impose a limit, maximum 200, 300 kilometers, something like that, and establish a rule, because that's where we could bring pressure to bear to have better animal transport. Certainly, we can discuss this file in a forthright manner. We can't stop or avoid talking to each other straight out. But most transport conditions are correct. But we do need checks, and they need to be effective. Thank you. Thank you. I now give the floor to Manuela Ripa. Thank you. I think we all agree that we do need better protection of animals during transport. And I think that my colleague Buda is absolutely correct on that. We need better implementation of the rules that already exist, certainly. But that's not enough, because we've got some excellent recommendations from the Special Committee on Animal Transport that dealt with this in very specific terms. And it came out very clearly that we need shorter transport, better conditions, particularly for young animals such as calves. And obviously, we need to be able to transport the meat rather than the animals, so better slaughter conditions. So I would call on all of you, please sit down together, come up with some compromises. We owe that not only to animal welfare, but also a vast majority of citizens in Europe who are counting on us in putting an end to this animal suffering and finding good solutions for everyone to improve transport conditions. It will be better for it to be meat that's being transported, but if it's for animals, we have to improve it, and we owe that to our voters. Thank you. Thank you. And then Sigrid is the last speaker.
Thank you for the floor. I cannot say that I'm a shadow rapporteur. I can also not say that I've been in this house for 11 or 7 years, but I can tell you that as a citizen that has signed countless and countless of petitions or citizens' initiative asking the European Parliament to step up on animal welfare, It's very different to become an elected politician and be a part of this House, listening to how stalled these negotiations actually are. Listening to you, colleagues, I really understand why from the other side of this House citizens look in and wonder what is happening in here. What are they actually working on? Can we trust them to put not only the best interest of the animals, but also the interest of the citizens into words and put their words into actions? I want to highlight something that was mentioned also in the video, and I think it's very important to note that the rules we have now, we can keep on calling for better controls or better enforcement of the rules, but these rules are also outdated. They were made in a time where we didn't have the knowledge we have now. They were based on the knowledge available at the time, but now we know, scientifically evidence-based, that animal transport is one of the most stressful times in a farmed animal's life. We know that they are sentient beings feeling both fear or feeling hot, feeling cold, feeling anxious or stressed during the conditions that they are met with in long transport. So I think we have the evidence necessary to deal with this politically, and it's still a puzzle to me why we cannot move forward in this House, having both citizens asking for it, scientific evidence showing the need for it, and still seeing the stalled processes here. I think today we know better, so we should also act accordingly to the knowledge that we have. I understand that there's a lot of emotions in this debate. I understand the interest of those claiming to speak on behalf of farmers. I think it's important to say not speaking on behalf of all farmers, because I've met with quite a few farmers that are very much asking for better rules and better protections of the animal welfare in the livestock sector. I also meet a lot of farmers who are a little bit frustrated with the economic system that we have created in the European Union. When you look at the farming sector today, they are, of course, also a product, they're a result of the common agricultural policies that we have made for decades, meaning that they create their business models around the economic incentives. But why is it a profitable business to be transporting animals for more than 20 hours? Why wouldn't it be more efficient to shorten the transport time? That would save not only time, save the animal from stress, but also save the ecological impact that we have on our planet, both on the local environmental scale, but on the bigger climate change scale. So maybe if we feel that changing transport rules on animal livestock sector would dismantle the financial model of the farmers, then maybe there's not something wrong with that financial model, and maybe there's also a bigger discussion to be having. So I really urge you, colleagues, to keep the perspective also of the outside world and not get lost in the internal power dynamics of this House, because there's a lot of things at stake. Thank you for having this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all your very valuable and interesting input. Let me just react on the procedure. I mean, when we sit together, when we look at the rules, if it is a co-rapporteurship and organizing a shadow that really deserves the name of a shadow meeting, in order to call for shadow meeting, we need a text to discuss. And how do we achieve a text to discuss? Is to find kind of political agreement, a political compromise. Then we can make a text, then we can call for a shadow meeting. That is the procedure that is foreseen. If there is no political agreement, of course we can have meeting, and we had informal meeting, and we are in contact with the different officers. But if there is no text, it's a little bit losing time. But of course, I heard the demand, or for me, it's no problem to organize it's not really a shadow meeting, but the meeting with the shadow rapporteurs and to see where we are. What is completely counterproductive is voting 3,000 amendments step by step, because it will come out an incoherent report where we have one thing and exactly the opposite. So we need to find a political agreement before having an official shadow meeting. But I totally agree, and I heard it, and I will propose indeed that we have a meeting with the shadow rapporteurs, even though not having a text to discuss on. If that is the demand, that is what we can do. The procedural side. Maria.
Normalerweise ist es üblich, dass die...
Well, what normally happens is that the shadow rapporteurs come up with the text themselves. But, I mean, if that's not okay with you, maybe I can come up with a compromise text. As I say, I'm sitting halfway between green and black, and I could certainly come up with some kind of compromise. It's not only about me. Others could do this as well. If the rapporteurs can't do that, then the shadow rapporteurs who are in the meeting should be allowed to come up with a compromise. So I could bring together the 30 or however many proposed amendments and say that's my compromise text, and we discuss that. It's not possible for us not to be able to move headway because we're blocked by formalities. That's not possible. So I'm going to propose this once again. I'm not kind of sticking my neck out, but if the rapporteurs are not in a position to come up with compromises, then the shadow rapporteurs should be able to do that. That can then be discussed, can then be amended. They never remain unchanged. That's never happened, but it would at least give us a basis for discussion. So, as I say, I was in the inquiry committee for a year, so, you know, I would suggest this as a way of going about it. Thank you.
Hey, I see time is over. I think both of us, Daniel Buda and myself, we take on board all the demands. Thank you for all the people that have joined online. What we can take out of this session, I think it's important, nevertheless, to say it. Animal welfare is central. It's not optional. The public opinion, we saw it, is very clear and consistent. It was a huge poll that was presented. Policy must, of course, balance between welfare and feasibility. And we need evidence-based decision-making, based on science, based on EFSA. So finally, I think this intergroup encourages all actors, policymakers, what we did during the inquiry committee, NGOs and stakeholders to continue constructive engagement on the transport proposal, building on today's insight and the shared commitment to improve animal welfare in Europe. So I think warmly all the speakers for their commitment, for their work, and all the participants, and also my colleagues here, all the MEPs, and also their teams and participants for their contribution. And I look forward, I'm desperately optimist for continued dialogue on this important issue. Let me just say that the next meeting on animal welfare intergroup will take place in February. So the exact date, for different reasons, needs still to be fixed, also for room reasons. And it will be on the economic case to revise the farm animal welfare legislation. So further details regarding the agenda, speakers, etc., will be sent to you. Voila. So please think that we will have an intergroup in February, but that you will get the date still sent. So thank you very much for your passionate input and looking forward and still hoping to find compromise also on this issue. Thank you very much.